Hi, this is Colleen with Chats with Colleen, and we are so glad that you're here joining us today. Remember, our podcast is about you, our guests, so please like and share, and please DM or reach out to us if you would like to join us for an episode. We can do this remotely via Zoom, or we can do it in person in Lake Mary. We would be so honored to have you or your time, so please join us. And remember, our podcasts are posted bi-weekly. That's every other week. So it's convenient and they are fun to listen to. So please listen. Also, this week's guest is Ryan Kwech. He is an independent adjuster who helps with claims throughout Florida and the whole country. He's been deployed to many disasters that have happened in the recent years, including going to Texas, Georgia, North Carolina, and here in Florida. And he's also gone to Pennsylvania. I believe when I interviewed him, he was in Pennsylvania helping out there. So he has a lot of great information to share about the claims process and what expectations are of people and others in this. Remember, if you are involved in a claim, I always suggest to take pictures and document it if you're unable to report the claim right away. In addition to, it's a good idea to take pictures of your property or your items a couple times throughout the year so you can document and show it to the adjuster when they come out to show the before product. And then obviously when they come out, they'll be able to see the after. Remember, it's always about keeping you and your family safe. So if you need to make temporary repairs to keep you and your family safe, we recommend that you do so. And obviously, if it's a life-threatening emergency, please call 911 and get to the nearest safest place. We don't want anybody risking their life for any property. Property can be replaced, but not your life. So please be safe. We hope you enjoy this episode with Ryan. He's going to have great information to share, and I'm so honored that he took the time to spend with me. So please like, share, and enjoy the show. Thank you. This is Colleen with Chats with Colleen, and today I have Ryan joining me, who is an independent adjuster. So he's going to share some great information about the insurance world and insurance claims. But I also want to get started with a little bit about his background and what led him to actually doing this. So Ryan, thanks for taking the time today to join me.
Thanks for inviting me, Colleen.
Thank you. And so, were you born in Chicago or did you just live there?
Yeah, I was born in the suburbs of Chicago, northwest suburbs, and I lived there till I was at the end of college, and then I moved here. Well, not here where I am now, but I moved to Florida, outside Orlando after school, and it's crazy to think, but I've been here for over 12 years now, and I lived in Miami for a little bit, but I lived mostly in Orlando during my time in Florida.
So compared to Chicago, do you prefer Orlando? I'm sure you prefer the weather, especially the winters.
Yeah, of course, of course. I mean, it's nice to have sunny days all the time. I mean, it's kind of nice to be in Pennsylvania right now as the weather's getting a little hot and humid in
Oh,
Florida. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know, like, weather, it's nice. I mean, I enjoy it. I do enjoy it. And Chicago gets so frigid cold. So yeah, I do miss some things of Chicago. There's honestly a lot better golf courses, public golf courses in Chicago than there is in Orlando and so forth. But also, the traffic is bad in Orlando, but the traffic's really bad in Chicago too. So it's
Oh,
getting
that's
bad.
surprising. It's bad everywhere right now. Yeah, it is very hot and humid here in Orlando, and next weekend it's going to be like 97. So I'm not looking forward to that
Yeah.
for mid-May. So your background is in sales. What type of sales did you do? Was it just real estate sales or did you go in other avenues of sales?
Yeah, so my first job was actually selling sales training. So I was in the training and education business. I don't know, maybe someone would know Sandler Training. They're kind of like, I think, the original sales training
Mhm.
company. They're a franchise. They've got offices all around the country and in the world, actually. but that was my first big boy job out of school. And after that, then I went into wholesaling, and I did wholesaling for a few years. And and then I kind of was like disillusioned, honestly, with sales and just like the whole path I was on. And I just left it. And I kind of went on a journey, and I ended up in the golf world for a little while, playing golf, caddying, and so forth. And then one day I met a insurance adjuster while I was caddying for them, and he explained to me how insurance adjusting works. It's specifically independent insurance adjusting, and it caught my attention. And here we are a year later.
When you said you were caddying for, I guess would it be professional golfers or
No, I was caddying
semi-pro?
at Bay Hill. I caddied at Bay.
Okay.
So, it's a resort course. It's, I mean, it's pretty famous, pretty world famous.
Yes.
But yeah, so a lot of resort guests and members there as well.
So that's a great way to network. You can meet a ton of people doing that. Like all different people come from probably all over the world to that golf course.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You definitely, you would think that. But then also I would say, imagine that you're coming to play golf. Like, you just kind of want to play golf. Like you don't want to like necessarily be talking business. You don't, and a lot of caddies, how do you say this? Like it wasn't as much networking as you might have thought. I think that with my sales background, I probably amplified the networking going on. But I'm grateful for the insurance adjuster because a lot of people didn't offer as much help as maybe you would have thought.
Really? Wow. So he gave you a lot of information. That's interesting. Hmm.
Well, more than information, he just gave grace. I mean, he was willing to offer a hand to someone that he didn't know from Adam. But he just said like I could just tell that like you're a grinder. Like I can just tell that you'd be good in insurance adjusting. And so I actually asked him, I said, like, why do you even want to help me? You don't even know me. Why do you even want to help me? And he said, well, because I was in a similar position, 15 years ago when I was getting into this, and someone helped me. And I don't know, I just see that you can do it. So I wanted to help you. So yeah.
I took off from there. So he was kind of the person that mentored you, I guess, to get into this business that
Mhm.
you're in, insurance adjusting. And then did you take a course? Because I've taken the course too. Did you take the adjusting,
Yeah, of course, of
licensing
course. I mean, I
course?
have to have that license, especially in Florida. You have to be licensed. So
Mhm.
Florida is my home state. I'm licensed now in three others: Texas, Louisiana, and Georgia. And I think I'll do some other licensings. There's mixed opinions about licensing. As a new adjuster, some people say you should get a lot of them because then that opens you up to more opportunities. Others say just wait for the event to come because you could just get an emergency license. There's the cost of things. Some like Louisiana costs $50, $60.
Mhm.
North Carolina costs 200. So if
Just
you've got
depends.
if you've got 10 or 12 licenses, you're coming out of pocket a few $1,000s every couple of years, which I don't know, if you're doing a good job at adjusting, that's not too much money. But
It depends on the,
definitely.
output that you can get from it. So when you were going into this, had you had any type of insurance experience before, besides your auto insurance, reviewing that every 6 months?
Yeah. No, I had no or excuse me, I had no insurance experience. In fact, when he was telling me that he worked in insurance and he was an adjuster, I was kind of like, oh, like, are you like you're on the dark side? And he said, I'm like a very fair adjuster, and I try to be a fair adjuster as well. I mean, I want to look for coverage. I don't want to deny people things because I just feel like I just try to put myself in their shoes. But no, I didn't have any insurance experience before. I probably had a lot of the same opinions that most people had about insurance.
Right. And I think a lot of people have, these expectations or judgments about it, and then maybe they get into it and start working. And then they realize it's different because I'm in insurance as well. And I think a lot of people have like misconceptions, and I find myself trying to correct them. But then I'm like, a lot of times I have to remind myself, well, they don't know. If you don't work in this field, you don't understand, like, you said the coverages, it's a contract, the policy is a contract. And so when you're going out looking at damages, you're also having to go back and revert to the policy for what the contract covers for that particular person, client, their house, car, whatever you're going through. And I feel like sometimes that's where the arguments come on because the person didn't understand the contract, what's written in there pertaining to what happened.
Yeah, absolutely. As I've been through insurance and so forth, I definitely have matured my perspective on it, because there is a market need for insurance. There are a lot of sudden and accidental things that happen, and
Yeah.
it's nice to have insurance for that. But you can also see why carriers are sometimes reluctant to pay for things because of what you had mentioned before we started recording, which is, you know, people are trying to get something for nothing everywhere. This is not just a new phenomenon. People have been like that since time immemorial. So it makes sense why sometimes the carriers go, I don't know if I want to pay for that, or I need some more evidence. I need some more information on that before I pay for that. Um,
Yes.
so, when it comes to, most people are only filing a claim once in their life. So they don't really know what's going on, and you can't blame them. But I think you also have to if you're often I say to people, like, I don't make coverage decisions. I just look to find the damage, and I want to find coverage, but ultimately, it's not up to me what they're going to say is covered or not, because an HO3 policy is pretty universal. Like, they're all kind of using approximately the same thing. It really just depends on how the carrier interprets that. Um, so the carrier that I'm working for here won't buy some things that some of the carrier that I work for, or the TPA carrier that I work for in Florida, will buy without question. And it really just depends on how they interpret it.
Exactly. So it's different. And then I can see each state is a little bit different with like
Yeah, absolutely.
their loss types, and then the insurance companies are all, and then it's also sometimes depending on like the claims representative that's at the insurance company, or the rep that you're dealing with for the insurance company, how they interpret it and how they look at it. And so sometimes, or if they were careless, because I know during like hurricanes back in 2017, I had a client who had like many properties in the same area, and he had many policies with the same company, and they were all the same, and they were, actual cash value policies because he didn't want inspections. They were just insured as is. And some of the adjusters, maybe on one or two of the properties, didn't withhold something. So they paid full, replacement costs. And he was like wanting to complain. And I'm like, okay, I think you should just take it, because at this point, somebody made a mistake. So if you go back and bring it to their attention, they may come back and tell you that they want it, or they may not, but they're not going to go back to the other ones and do it because somebody actually did it the right way. And I feel like they're humans, and they got so much coming at them. And so sometimes what sticks and what doesn't, it's an error. The insurance company has to eat that money. Yes, it's a company, but they actually have people that work there too. So, people make mistakes and people overlook things, and they're doing 100 claims at a time, and they're just trying to get them off their desk. So he was like, oh, okay. And I'm like, okay, so you got lucky today, which doesn't happen. Like, it shouldn't happen because that's not like what he paid for. But unfortunately, yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, exactly. And, I remember I had a claim in St. Louis that, I was able to buy the whole roof. But her policy was an actual cash value policy. And so there was no recoverable depreciation. And so, like yes, I don't remember what it was, but we'll just say like it was a $18,000 roof is now $7,000 after depreciation. And she's like, why is it so little? And I was like, well, maybe when you were talking to the agent, they said, did you want a cheaper policy? And she, oh yeah, I remember that now. And it's like, so you kind of take the cheaper policy, but then, when something bad happens, then well, you're getting paid out on what the policy pays out and so forth. I mean, there's a lot of nuances to it. How many years you've been with the company, and are deductibles valid after how many years? Like how long you've been paying policies and so forth. I mean, there's a lot of philosophical questions you can ask, especially if someone's been there a customer for a long time. Um, but but yeah, it's again, no, most people are not filing more than one or two claims in their life, and I'll tell
Right.
you what, the second one, they're probably a lot wiser.
They learn something. Yeah. I think the first claim they don't know, and a lot of people don't have like they have expectations like I'm just gonna this is like a big payday, depending on what it is, and who they've talked to.
Yeah.
But a lot of the incidents that happen down south are kind of like oh, their neighbor used this public adjuster, not an independent adjuster, a public adjuster. The public adjuster was able to get them this amount of money and come to look for stuff, within their house, because they're, working for the client, they say. And then they get paid a percentage of their policy claim payout. I always tell people be leery of that if someone's coming to look for something for your house. Should be able to notice what's going on in your house, unless you're elderly or don't live there or something like that. I mean, and you're not able to get around. But if someone's coming, looking on it, knocking on your door, asking to look underneath your sinks, that's the frauding issues that we've seen. Did you see any type of fraud issues within your claims that you had to go through? I think you said Texas, Florida,
Well,
North Carolina.
um, I think they caution us to be careful with the F word.
Right.
Um, but I'll give you one example that I don't know. I think it ended up being subrogation to the restoration company or something. But basically, I went to an inspection way out there in, like, I don't know, Brooksville or something, like way almost out by the coast. And this was Helene, I believe. And there's a big old tarp on this two slope gable roof, and the tarp is all nailed in, right? And they remove the tarp, and there's literally no missing shingles. So they ruined the roof because they put all those nails in
Yeah,
there.
just through it.
So I wrote for damages, but I also said, recommending subrogation because this does not appear to be storm related. These damages are not necessarily storm related. Like, this was an excessive use of mitigation efforts. Like, they put a tarp over the whole roof when there was like a leak that was like this size, in the bathroom. So, you definitely see things like that. But I haven't seen like what I would call outright fraud where, I mean, maybe I have seen it and I just don't write for it because it's like, listen, I mean, I was born at night, but I wasn't born last night. Like, I can see that this is fine. Like, this is either wear and tear or this is deterioration or something like that. So
And I think that's the one they want, like deterioration, like, people, I'm like, well, the insurance companies are starting to crack down on like the roof ages, and they've been doing that for a while. So, what a lot of them are trying to do now is if the roof is over a certain age, they maybe want to pay out on the roof claim if they have one. Actual cash. So they're not going to pay total, replacement costs. In the event of a hurricane, that doesn't apply, which is great because if you're going out to hurricane claims, I think the rate of fraud is going to be a lot lower on the clients because there was a huge devastation. There was two or three, I don't even know, three category 3 or above hurricanes that came through, and one was the category 5 at one time. So of course you're going to see a lot of devastation. So the fraud's a little bit lower. I think it's what comes like after Hurricane Charlie, Francis, and Jean, and then we had Tropical Storm Faye, and then we had Wilma. We kind of had a lull for like 10 years where nothing really happened here. And then we had Hurricane Matthew and Michael, and then I'm sorry, Matthew, Irma, and then Michael. And then we had a little break, and then we had Ian, and then we had the one that became in between 22 and our, the 24 hurricanes and 23. I don't even know her name. It was like Delilah or something like that, or
Mm.
Adelia. I mean, there have been so many, and that was flooding more on the coast. But, so we haven't had enough time in between these storms because it's been like every year for the last like 3 years for them to really get to that. But it's kind of like more or less, or people who had a hurricane damage were supposed to replace their roof, right? They got the money, they didn't replace it, and they just maybe said, I'm just going to patch this area. They didn't replace it, but they got paid to replace the whole roof and they didn't replace it. And then they try to claim it again. I've seen that happen more than once. And so when I tell them, I'm like, well, you got paid out for the claim. Like you were supposed to replace it. It's like double jeopardy. Like you can't do it again. I understand the hurricane came again. Like you had a hurricane, then you had another one, but you already paid to replace the roof and you didn't replace it. And so who's to say if you had replaced the roof when you got paid initially, if the other hurricane came, would it have been that damaged? And that's the question I think no one can ever answer because we don't know. It's the weather.
Right, right. And the Florida roofs take a beating from all that sun. You know,
Yes.
you know, 25-year three tab is not lasting 25 years. 30-year
No.
is not lasting 30 years. And even up here, in Pennsylvania where they get hot and cold.
And they
So
get hail and like a lot of snow waiting on it. Hmm.
so now you've got questions about roofing roofing manufacturing. Are they making quality materials so that roofs can be installed and last a long time? I mean, it definitely has a lot of tentacles, I guess, out into the market, and that made me think of something else too that I just forgot. Oh, Exactimate. There's also the question of, are Exactimate prices correct? Because it's like, why is my adjuster giving me an estimate for $10,000, but my roofer is giving me an estimate for 25?
Right.
So why is it 2.5 times more? And everyone has to make a living. The company has to make a profit. Profit is good. It's not bad. So we understand that, but the insurance company is generally not paying overhead and profit for a roof repair. The general rule of thumb is it has to be 3 trades before overhead and profit starts entering into the conversation. So that means like, trees hitting the house and, real destruction. Not that a roof isn't real destruction, but you know what I'm saying. So there's a lot of nuances to it, but I think that I mean, not to be so blunt, but like one of the best insurance policies is to have a lot of money. Make sure that you be good with your money because you don't know how much things are going to cost these days. You just don't. And so, yes, your insurance is going to cover sudden and accidental instances. But you see these Dan Newlands, John Morgans on the side of the road that say, I got $1 million, and that's not a roof loss. This is like, I lost my leg, or I
Right.
couldn't work for 3 years or something like that.
Or the rest of your life. I remind people of that all the time. That
Yeah,
those people they're only showing them from here up. We don't know what happened to the rest of
yeah,
their body.
exactly. And so
Hmm.
that's in their subconscious, mind going, oh yeah, I can get money, and it's true to some degree. You can get money, but like you said, the insurance company is a business. Okay, so they can't just pay out everything because they want to be nice guys. They have to draw the line somewhere, and unfortunately the world is filled with a lot of malicious actors, or less than benevolent, if you will, and there has to be some hazard against that. So I think that my understanding is that when you start to get to the smaller and more regional carriers, you're going to get a little different experience than the national carriers, which is just like anything. When you get large and national, you're going to have a different experience than the other ones, and so it's probably why it's helpful to have so many different carriers that you work for, because then you can meet whatever need that person has at that time.
source because sometimes like we try to help everybody, but sometimes it's just beyond our reach, or they have a better option elsewhere, or we may be their only option because they've had multiple claims because somebody didn't explain to them correctly of how to use insurance. And I feel like there's a lot of times people don't understand like how to use it.
Mhm.
um, and with that being said, you don't work for a specific company? Do you get contracts to go work for the companies
Right.
that you?
I work with TPAs, third party administrators.
Okay. And so they deploy you or send you out to wherever's needed at that time.
That's correct. So yeah, I mean, I'm still in the sales game in the sense that, I want to have as many TPAs who like my work and my work product so that I can work for the companies that frankly pay the best and have the best carriers, the carriers that are the easiest to work for. And um, so I mean, it's just like anything. If you're in business, if you're an independent contractor, you're in business for yourself and you want to grow your client
Your
list.
clientele, your client list, your contacts, and your rapport, because you're basically working in sales, like you said, commission, but you're doing a service for people, in the fact that you're able to help them in a way when they don't understand. And I know some of them probably get upset. Well, why aren't you paying me this? But then when you explain it, then they understand. And most rational people. Do you feel that way, that you're able to help people and then you're able to go home or wherever you're going that night and, just feel like I helped people and feel grateful and happy
Yeah,
for that?
I do.
Mhm.
I do. I mean, there are times when people are upset with the payout, and there are times when I'm shocked as well that some of my estimate gets rejected and I have to delete some of what I've written for, and I'm like, wow, okay, well, but that's just the way it is. And the flip side is, again, to be kind of candid, they bought the policy, so
Yeah.
it's kind of your due diligence to double check what is in the contract. So you strike me. My impression is you're the kind of agent that's going to take the extra 5 minutes to explain what something is.
Yes. And then
Not
I'm
a
hoping, I'm hoping that they listen or read. It depends on our conversation. If it was email, spelling it out, or if it's on the phone. Okay, yeah, I just want the cheapest. And you're saying, hello,
It's like, okay, well, here's
at
what the
claim
cheap
time.
covers. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
So everyone has a right to buy whatever policy they want to buy. And if you want the cheapest, that's fine. But you understand that there's a commensurate quality of payout that comes with that.
Of
Um,
course. Hmm.
so um, I do feel I never really sleep uneasy at night because of what I said. I always do my best to write for coverage. So I never my motivation, my intention is to put myself in their shoes and write for what I think I can write for. And it's up to the examiner to say, yeah, that's valid or not. And then it's out of my hands.
Right. And that's what I do tell my clients, because I deal with a lot of clients who deal with adjusters just like yourself, who are coming out and they're like, oh, that adjuster. And I said, well, after he writes the report, him or her writes the report, in most cases that's going to the insurance company. So whoever's handling that at the insurance company level, or they're submitting it, and then it takes time. They're thinking in some cases this person's coming out and writing them a check or repairing the property, and I'm like, nah, it's
That's
not like
yeah,
that anymore.
that's
Mhm.
what kind of blows my mind is that people think the insurance company is going to repair the property. I that part on me is a little like, come on, that that's not what they do. They pay you for the damages and that's it.
Right. And they
Now,
need to start repairing it like on their own to prevent further damages. That's another thing I always can't understand, how I'm like, the company, when whoever comes out there, especially after a storm, isn't coming to fix anything. And they're not even coming to put a tarp on your house if it's leaking, that they're coming to look at it and take pictures and write the report. And it's going to take them a couple of days or weeks because they got other ones to do on that same day. But you need to do something to prevent anything else from happening. And some people are like shocked. Well, the insurance company is supposed to do that. And I'm like, actually, they're not. And
no,
it's very hard hard to explain that to them.
Well, it's like it's your property. So,
Well, you said it, yeah. And I always want to say that in the back of my head, but I'm like, I don't know how to say this nicely. And there's really no, it doesn't have to be nice or it just is what it is. Like you own the home. I'm in a home that I own right now. If I see something going on, I got to find a way to stop it or call somebody to help me fix it, you know? Yeah.
yeah. And that's what I mean. I say that like I had to say that to someone today because it's going to rain this week, and they said, "Well, I'm worried. How am I going to get it fixed?" I said, "Well, you when you take temporary mitigating repair efforts to prevent further damage, that is covered damages. That's covered, invoicing because you are making sure that the insurance company doesn't have to pay even more if you hadn't done that. So they're happy to pay $500 for a tarp rather than $5,000 to re-drywall the whole room that's now damaged.
Yeah.
So I try not to use numbers, and I try never to say this will be covered, this will not be covered. But I know
Yes.
so far that like if there's shingles missing and it's going to rain in 2 hours, they're going to cover the tarp. They're going to pay for the tarp. Like that's not an issue.
Right. It's just because exactly like you're trying to make an effort, but most people are like, oh, it's just going to happen, whatever happened. I'm like, oh, I mean, if your
Because then
roof
that
blew
gets
off,
into the F word. It's like, oh, I just let it happen, and now they're going to pay for more stuff. They call it the F word, the fraud. Yes, it's fine, but it's funny to play on.
yeah, I mean, some people, but I mean, it's a different story if like a tree fell through your house, a tornado come, your roof is ripped off and you have a tree in there. Okay, I mean, you could tarp the house, but really it's already pretty much destroyed. But if you have a
Right.
couple shingles blown off in the right corner of the house, it's leaking in your garage, make some effort to stop it, like get somebody to fix it, to do something to prevent further damage. Because I think that's where the line comes that you have the duty. Now, I'm going to tell you, I had this claim that the client's dealing with a TPA for, and it was a fire. It was like an Airbnb in the Panhandle, a nice, big home. It had like an in-law suite, and they had guests there. I don't know, 10, and something happened, an electrical fire. The man still has not started any repairs, even any remediation to remove that, and he's received a lot of money. And he's saying, "Oh," so we've had several conversations with him, like lasting hours, and I'm just saying, and he's got the money. He said he's turned it over to the mortgage company. It's just like hard to get a straight answer. And he's basically maxed out like all the limits within his policy, like the contents, the loss of use, all that they're going to pay for the dwelling, unless they go in there and start uncovering stuff and realize that he needs more money. So, I'm like, the longer you wait, the more money this is going to cost you, but you've made no effort. And now we're going into another hurricane season. I don't know if there's any openings, but I don't know. It's really difficult, like to understand that, maybe he's over his head because he lives in another state. And I'm like, just find a way to unload the house. But it's something that you take the risk of when you buy something like, like this in another state, you're there, like it's a business
Well,
for you, but nothing's perfect.
it leads to, I think, a broader, again, philosophical or spiritual conversation, which is like you own the thing. It's your thing. You have you have a choice. You have a choice. I don't even want to say you have a responsibility because you don't, because you have a choice, and you have a choice to either take care of your things or let them go bad. Um, and some people don't have the resources to take care of things, and that's understandable. That's fine. But at the end of the day, you always have a choice. And I think that truth, that reality is lost on people sometimes. That like, oh, I guess I could do that. And that's what the insurance company is saying is you do have a choice and you're choosing to not choose. And we're not responsible for your lack of choice.
Right, right. It's a tough job. It's a tough job to be in your job. And in my job at times, especially with the claims coming in and the storms, because everybody wants an answer. Like they want you to say, is it covered or not? I'm like, I don't know because I don't see the damage. I don't know what happened. It's hard to say what's covered or not, until somebody goes out there. So the sooner the adjuster goes out there and reports the claim, the better it would be for everybody. And if everybody would just work together and take care of themselves, it would be much
If
easier
only, right? Imagine starts to play in the
in
background,
our
right?
perfect world.
Right.
So this is going to be like our last question.
All right.
How do you keep the calm in the chaos when you're out there on the road in the middle of a disaster with so many stressors coming at you?
Hmm. Well, frankly, it's a deep understanding of reality, which is there is divine order in all things. And there is an underlying perfection in life that even in the appearance of chaos, there is an order. And I'm part of that order. And in fact, I am on the front lines of the order. I am adjusting the chaos back into order. So, uh, I just, when there's a delay, I try to give people the benefit of the doubt. When people are emotional, I try to acknowledge that they're going through something that is most likely their first time ever, and that it's extremely disorienting, and in some cases a mild inconvenience to a true devastation. And that's so when someone's acting like they're having true devastation when it's just a mild inconvenience, I try to bring some perspective into the picture. And when it's true devastation, I try to just be as understanding of their situation. And I just say, I don't know what you're going through, but I know that what you're going through is incredibly disorienting. And there's an incredible amount of emotions that you've never had. And it's perfectly okay to feel how you feel right now. My job is to help get this process started in the right direction. Um, and that generally puts them at ease, I think, at least in the moment. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's just like I'm also just doing my job. And that's kind of where the harsh reality comes in is I can only do so much. I'm not going to do other people's jobs. I'm not here to repair your house. I'm not here to find contractors for you.
Mhm.
And I'm not making a coverage decision. And I also didn't buy your policy. So if you're upset with what you're getting paid out on, well, I don't just say, hey, well, you should have, called the insurance agent before it's figured out what it was. But it's just like that's something that happened in the past, and I didn't make that choice. They did. So
Like we're here now and we're going to go forward and you do what you can for them. And
that's right.
then that's all you can do.
That's right.
Hmm. So
So
thank you so much for your time, Ryan.
thank you,
And
Colleen.
if anybody wants to reach out to you to learn about adjusting, if they're maybe interested in it or having a question about sales or just anything in general, because you're extremely knowledgeable, could they email you?
Yeah, they can email me. I think I gave you the Ryan Kwech adjust
Yes.
gmail.com. That'd be just fine.
So we will post that. And again, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Colleen. Have a great
Thank you.
Mother's Day too.
You too. Thank you. Oh, not you too, but thank you.
I knew it. All right. Take care.
Thanks so much for listening and joining us. If you haven't already, please share, subscribe, and like our episodes and our podcast. Also, leave a review. It will be so helpful to us, and we would so appreciate it. Also, if you want to join us at any time, we're open to any guests joining us in person and on Zoom. We post and record episodes bi-weekly, so that's twice a month. Um, Also, they're posted on our socials, which is Facebook, Secured Insurance Group, Instagram, Colleen Insurance Lady. This podcast was hosted by myself, Miss Colleen Pacheco, and recorded and produced and edited by Sean Spazzato. Our podcast cover art was designed and created by Norma Pacheco, and our intro and outro music is created by Lounge Bar by Geronic. Goodbye.